Hey everyone. Good evening. Welcome back. Welcome back to another episode of Just Some Perspective podcast. I'm your host, Mosh. It is late on a Friday, but this is the best chance I had to talk to you guys today. And pretty much this whole week. It's been another crazy week, but making things happen, as usual. Being consistent, being focused, and utilizing whatever time we have. So anyway, a little happy birthday to me. Thank you. I had a nice birthday yesterday, and a lovely time with my family. The ripe old age of 36. So cheers. I'm very grateful and blessed for that. And yeah, I had a wonderful time with the family, and we had a lovely dinner here in Capel at this fish place called Flying Fish. Shout out. Really good fish place if you ever get a chance or in the mood for some fish in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So, hope you all had a great week. How's your January 2025 going so far? And it's kind of insane that we're almost in February, But anyway, like we know, there's nothing we can do about it, So, this episode won't be too long. Just wanted to talk about a couple of things, and I guess to start off with some birthday reflections, right? Now this weekend should be a lot of fun. I have some fun things planned with some local friends for the birthday, and there's other birthdays that are being celebrated, as well, maybe at the same time. So happy birthday to everyone as well. If I have said so or not, and who is celebrating birthday. But I'm gonna go down a little bit of a list of lessons to my younger self today, and things that, of course, my younger self or our younger self wouldn't have known anyway. But of course, as we get older and live life and learn and experience things, we learn them, right? So I'm going to talk about that a little bit, and then a little bit later talk about kind of how, the concept of, in the modern social era, the social sphere of common sense and how that intertwines with real life and politics and everything. So I'll get into that. So, but yeah, some quick reflections. Happy to say I had a fantastic birthday, and I went to work and everything, but I was still blessed, and I met my family for dinner right after work directly with no stop, just meet them directly there. And not only did my parents and my brother come to visit, but also my uncle and aunt and my cousins who are studying or just graduated from a local university here in Dallas. So very happy to see them all. And honestly, man, at the end of the day, family is all you really have, really. Besides yourself and your own self-perception and kind of your own belief systems and goals and your environments and, trusted friends and loved ones. Really, at the end of the day, your family, your parents and siblings and aunts and uncles, they're the only people you will know your entire life, ideally. And it's not all sunshine and rainbows. I think we all know that. And yes, it's going to be difficult. Yeah, and there could be really big, dramatic, problems or, falling out or what have you, fights, But at the end of the day, everyone's born into a family, and that's the only family you'll be part of. Or I shouldn't say it's the only family. It's the family, the people you will be part of your entire life as long as they're still in your life, So, and I'll get to that with some of my reflections here. So I had a great time, great dinner, got back and just really, really had some good reflections and enjoyed a nice little cigar. That's something you enjoy you start to get into in your 30s for some reason as a guy. I found, but I dig it. And yeah, so I'll go ahead and get started with essentially some words to my younger self and wisdom that I've gained and I've experienced that I would love to have shared. I would love to share with my younger self. So if that's something that younger version of me could have learned or listened to, that being insane. But here's some things that I thought about, and they both come from my own experience and also from actual kind of experiences and mindsets and wisdom from all over, including real actual philosophers, real people, other content creators today, authors of books, etc. So I'm gonna try to describe that here. So I'd say the first thing is happiness is not a destination. It's actually a journey. It's more of a process. We all think that happiness is destination, and I don't blame anyone, because when you're younger, if you're a boy, you want a toy really bad, right? And you get it and you're happy for a certain period of time. And or if you want an ice cream, and you feel happy. And of course, when you're young, you don't really have a perception of time, because everything is like just kind of your own world right now, and you're too young to really know the difference too much. And so I want to quote an author and one of my favorite kind of content creators on YouTube, and whose books I've read. He has this series called Rational Male Series, and which I highly recommend for any man, especially who wants to improve his life and potentially improve his mindset towards life and relationships. His name is Rollo Tomassi, and his quote directly from him is, "Happiness is an approximate goal. It's not an ultimate outcome, and it's not a permanent state." Okay? And the older I get, the more true this is, Like, for example, when you're a sports fan and you love your team and you can't wait to watch them play, especially the freaking Dallas Cowboys or someone, essentially many people outsource their state of well-being or happiness to the outcome of the team's success, which is really a mistake, So basically you're saying how they play or perform dictates how you feel afterwards, or the rest of the day, or perhaps a few days going forward, right? Now, okay, if it's a huge game like the Super Bowl, which is the biggest game there is, or a huge playoff game, yes, that stings more for sure. But now, having been a former super obsessed sports fan, and just kind of in crazy sports enthusiast, because at the time, in fact, speaking of happiness, my whole outlook on life was about happiness in college, and I think many of us can resonate with that, especially if you're in your 30s and have been out of college for a few years. On a personal note, I had to come to a realization. Of course, many of us do that, but I guess I had a fork in the road where I had to make a choice, and the choice was basically, should I pursue something, education-wise and eventually career-wise, that I absolutely don't enjoy at all, but there's more, value, there's more economic return, financial return, etc., but I just absolutely despise it in all ways. For example, a profession I have no interest in, like medical profession or something. No disrespect or insult to anyone who is in it. It's just not for me. And so when I was that age, and I'm talking about between 18 and 23, 24, the 18 and 23, those years especially, I think that's like the most formative years, or I should say that's like the last time before a true adulthood arrives, right? That's what I mean. And so you're just like an older teenager, super young adult, and you, in your mind, you really think you know everything, and you have all this information and knowledge and yada, and belief in yourself, and kind of a ability to hang out with friends, go around, do whatever you want. And eventually, especially when you turn 21, and if you're a party person like I used to be, like a big time party person, then yeah, you really are are just going crazy at the time, probably for most of us. But yeah, basically, I was looking at life, right? I was literally viewing the entire future based on happiness because I had a completely wrong view about it. I used to think it was an ultimate outcome, right? Or it was a permanent state. Like if I get that job, I will always be happy. Yep. If I become a ESPN anchor one day and be on Sports Center and get to share sports highlights and whatever with the American public, that would be happy, and I would love nothing more. I mean, forget about like potential other interests that you might have or life experiences or changes and kind of overall view of the world was gonna update. That was never in the equation between the ages of 18 and 22 for sure, I can tell you. And so yeah, that's the first big takeaway, is that it's not a permanent state. Happiness is not it's not a permanent state. It's not an ultimate outcome. It's just an approximate goal. What's another way of putting that? If you're out of shape, what you look at is people who are in shape and thinking that if I get in shape, especially if I have like a visibly in shape, like you have a six pack, like a superhero actor, right? Then you'll be happy. Or if you don't have friends and then you tend to have a lot of friends later, then you'll be happy. Or if you're broke or potentially financially struggling, and then you think to yourself, if I one day have millions of dollars, then I'll be happy. And so a lot of us have this mindset that it's an outcome, but it's not at all an outcome. And here's why. Because you study for years to get a degree, which is recognized on one day as you walk across the stage for a few seconds. Yes? And now, we all did that, hopefully, most of us, and that's just a part of life. That to me, that looking back, that's just the very beginning. I feel like that's the very first step you take in your life, is just getting to that point, But after you finish and graduate, don't you have things to do? Don't you have to maybe find a calling or see what jobs are available if you're looking, or maybe go back if you want to continue your education or whatever, right? It's not like the end. I myself thought it was this end period where it's just the time is over and I don't know what's going on, and I mean, of course, college and beyond. But after college, then there was like a period of time where I really wasn't sure what to do or what I was going to do. But eventually that came to be later, by the grace of God. And so, yeah, whether it's your degree, whether it's a job, whether it's a car, whether it's a house, whether it's a potential partner or spouse, whatever. Many of us think that just by acquiring these things, something you don't have that you want in the future, by acquiring it, then you will just be permanently happy. That's actually a huge misconception, and it's just completely false. Now, are those things we should aspire to and work towards? Yes. And am I very that being said, am I grateful to have my own place and my own car and a really good job so far, and great career and great connections and so much experience and knowledge over years? Yeah, of course I am. And so that's just a huge flip from the mindset that happiness is a destination. But it's not. It's just a journey, okay? It's a journey, and it's impossible to be in a permanent state of happiness, okay? And that is, if my younger self knew that, not to say that I'm gonna blame or fault my younger self, but that would make a huge difference to a young developing person. I promise you, huge difference. And so moving along with more lessons to my younger self. Your feelings are valid, but not to let your feelings drive the car. You know, if that makes sense. Like, no matter how you feel, don't let your feelings control you, but instead you learn to control your feelings and your emotions. And I know people have different reactions to that, or feelings about that, or responses, and that's okay. And I know for sure it's different for male and female, and so forth, and young and old and whatever. But I can say, just specifically as a guy, as a male, it's more important to control your own feelings on a day-to-day basis, especially around others, and in most situations, than it is to let them control you. Because I don't know if anyone's noticed, but people who lose control of their emotions in public are pretty much going to end up on social media and look embarrassed or in a poor light, right? So that's something I will tell my younger self. Not all great happy things, but it's just things I've learned, and I just have experienced a lot to see that. Friends come and go, but life continues, life moves on. The older I get, the more things starts to make sense. The more life makes more sense, the more people in general, and especially people and close people and etc., it makes more sense. It's like you're connecting dots to this ever-growing picture, ever-growing puzzle, which is life, So the older you get, to me, things just start to click, because it's just impossible to see that scope in your early life without having gone through the many years, towards your 30s and beyond, to actually know the difference between how you felt before and how you feel now. So making the right connections makes all the difference in life, for sure. I think everyone's heard this, but your network is your net worth, and as soon as I heard that, which is also similar to another quote, which is, you are the sum total of the 5 closest people you spend the most time with. I am so glad I heard that at an early age. I'd say in my early 20s, that's when I got connected to essentially like an entrepreneurial group and entrepreneurial minded people who are completely different from anyone I knew. And all I knew is, like, I have no money, I have like no opportunities, and I'm willing to do or learn anything if it helps me do that, right? And sure enough, it did. Like, very quickly, opportunities started coming my way after learning a lot and kind of opening my mind to just the idea of entrepreneurial mindset and entrepreneurial living and so forth. So I'm really grateful for that, and that just goes to show, when you connect with the right people in life, it opens the doors to many possibilities that maybe were not there before, So making the right connections makes all the difference. And one of my favorite sayings now is, "This too shall pass," and everything is gonna come and go, Bad days don't last forever. Good times don't last forever. And even in the worst times, it doesn't last forever. The worst of times, the best of times, nothing lasts forever. Okay, so you just carry on. If you're feeling down, feel what you feel, go through it, and then you just carry on. If you feel amazing, the absolute king of the world, it's just temporary. It's just a feeling. That doesn't mean it's going to last forever either. Not to say don't feel good and don't feel like you're amazing, but it is still a feeling, and that is fleeting, right? Emotions are fleeting. So, this too shall pass is an excellent way to describe that. And no matter how bad things get, you don't give up on yourself, you don't give up on others, you don't give up on your goals. Definitely don't give up on family, for sure. Definitely don't give up on that. As hard as it seems, I mean, I know because I deal with a lot of that myself, which I won't get into too much. But yeah, no matter what, like, you never give up on family, and at the end of the day, that's all we really have. They're the only ones who are there for you when you were born or first brought it to the world, and hopefully the only ones who are going to be there, or they will be there for you throughout your life. And so do more what's good for your soul, and not just what brings temporary pleasure, for sure. I totally agree now, looking back at that. And all of us seek temporary pleasure at some point, especially in your 20s. And it's okay to experience some of that, as long as you don't let it consume you, because everything in moderation. And too much of anything is not good, right? There might be something that you can't get too much of. Let's just say there's no bad thing of too much. Okay, fine. Let's just say for the sake of argument, there's too much of anything is bad, including even good things like exercise or drinking water or whatever. But eating too much sugar, you'll get sick. Eating too much candy, eating too much pizza, etc. Too much of anything is not good, and everything should come in moderation, right? And so I'm definitely telling my younger self that, for sure. And and anyone who's young or whatever, I hope you take that away. And this is coming from a person who loves video games. I watch Netflix. I watch sports games whenever available, and if my team's playing and they're having a good season or whatever, and it's the playoffs, I'll watch. I do scroll on social media. I'm trying not to. I know I waste some time doing that, but I'm trying to be better about doing that and be more concise, and then share good quality reels or stories that are beneficial for people. And but too much of anything is never good. Okay. And and so it's better to pursue what's good and meaningful, not what is expedient, which is actually another rule from 12 Rules of Life book by Dr. Jordan Peterson. Do what is meaningful, not what is expedient. And a few more things, notes to my younger self. You can never 100% predict where your life will take you. I don't think anybody can 100% predict where it is, but with faith and belief, I think you'll go further than you realize you would go, or than you could probably imagine at a younger age that you would go. Obviously you have to have faith in something. You have to have faith in yourself, belief in yourself to accomplish something or get to somewhere that you've never been, right? And also faith in the future, even if you don't believe in God, which I do. I'm Muslim, alhamdulillah. But even if you don't believe in a higher power or something, you still have to have faith in something, like yourself, and to accomplish or do something in the future that you haven't done today. That's still faith, because it's basically belief without evidence, right? I can list a million examples, but any major sports athlete, just to get to their league, they had to believe they would be a great enough player to perform on college game day or whatever, to even be considered a professional player, right? And obviously you go all the way to the best champions and the Michael Jordans and etc., LeBron James, etc. So every major athlete and person understands that. So trust your gut, for sure. That's another one. Trust your gut, and it just doesn't lie to you. If you have a gut feeling something's wrong, or your gut is telling you something's off about a certain situation, definitely trust it. It's there for a reason, and it doesn't really lie to you. I've noticed your gut doesn't lie to you, and I know for a fact I have felt something off a few times, and there was alarms going off in my gut, if you will, and I'm just I need to remove myself from this equation or something. I need to do something different, because I'm just not getting a good vibe right now. So definitely trust your gut. And this concept of I have time is actually not true. It's not true. It's BS. I mean, it's easy to think that when like life is good, and you're in your mid-20s, and you know you have all these things you're thankful for or whatever, and you think you can just wait and not worry about things. It's just not true, because pretty soon you'll be 5-10 years older, and you'll be totally forget like what the heck happened. You know, you'll totally just it'll just be past like this. You know, and we really don't have. We don't really have as much time as we think we do. God willing, we all live as long and meaningful, purposeful lives as humanly possible in this lifetime. That being said, we obviously there's a limit. Okay, it's not forever, and so that means technically we don't have the time that we think we do. You know, and so I would tell myself, younger self, you actually don't have as much time as you think you do, in terms of life overall, because you just can't see how fast it'll go at that point. But yeah, and then one last thing is all the fun I had in my youth, especially, and when I look back, I don't regret those times at all. They say people don't regret the things they did, they regret the things they didn't do. You know, which I totally agree. I don't regret the things I did, really, for the most part. And we all have some regrets. Obviously, it's healthy to do that. But I don't regret the good times I had, the friends I partied with, the concerts I went to. You know, and I went to a few of them back in the day, and things like EDC, Lights All Night. Oh man, there was like the epitome of my 20s. And yeah. Everything you experience and all the fun you have is just going to become a memory. You know, even this video is going to become a memory one day. So, that's just life. And those are some things I thought as some reflections after my birthday, and some notes and wisdom to my younger self. If this younger version of me could have received that, or even would be open to listening and even take that seriously, because we all know when you're young you just kind of don't care about much, right? So that's life. Anyway, the older you get, the more things make sense, as I mentioned. So okay, one last segment today, and then I'll call it a night. It's actually past midnight here, but at least I'm doing my best to get something out there today. So so the whole concept of common sense, I wanted to talk about that. So as a concept in general, I just come to the realization I don't think it's real, personally. I know it's a concept that we all are familiar with, pretty much. Even the president of the United States, the new president, Donald Trump, God bless president, and I'm happy about that. But I just don't see how it's real, because a lot of people can't agree on what it qualifies as common sense, right? Number one. And if my big argument is, if common sense is as real as we think it is, then how come we always keep saying it's not common? Doesn't that completely go against what the whole definition of common sense is, right? That is actually common. And yeah, in my youth, I thought common sense was actually common. The older I get, the less I see it, you know? So let me give some context. Okay, so before 15, 20 years ago, there's not a shadow of a doubt throughout the entire world that there's only two genders, that's male and female. Yes, just before 15, 20 years ago. And for some reason, it all of a sudden, in the past 15, 20 years, into our culture and politics now, people started saying and believing that there can be unlimited number of genders, and it's all how you feel and all how you identify or whatever. But that doesn't change the hundred thousands of plus years of human evolution that only produced two sexes this entire human history and human civilization on Earth, right? It just doesn't do that. Now, I'm not saying there's not some biological exception like a hermaphrodite or people with multiple reproductive organs or something. Yeah, that's some biological exception that's there, yes, but it does not represent the vast majority of cases, right? It's male or female. But only in the past 15, 20 years has that even been questioned, and especially the past 10 years with this woke ideology, people started accepting that you can just, despite your biological sex, which is, of course, chromosomes XY for male and XX for female, you can just put on a dress as a man and be considered a woman. Or vice versa, cut your hair off as a girl and be considered a guy. It's just like the craziest thing. It's not that your feelings aren't valid. Sure, you can feel however you want to feel. That's fine. You can self-identify however you want to self-identify. But you can't force the world to participate in your delusion, as Matt Walsh would say, conservative commentator. I mean, and so, yeah, like the Donald Trump, he declared that the government only recognizes male and female, and the fact that that's actually something a president of the United States has to actually declare at all is freaking insane. Like, why is that even real? That don't make no sense. Like, we have to actually say that we recognize two genders, male and female, because of how insane this woke ideology has become. So that's one example that there's no common sense or it's not real. So what I think people mean with common sense is actually like a logical mind, right? Just thinking things logically or rationally. And people don't probably take into account like cultural differences, right? Religious beliefs, and religious differences, generational, geopolitical, all those things, right? And so a real life example would be like crossing the street, right? In the US, for sure, I can say we have crosswalks and you're supposed to wait until the sign says go, or you can walk, and then you will cross the street while cars are on the are stopped at the light, right? And of course, jaywalking is illegal. People do it, yes. Have I done it? Yes, whatever. But we think that it's common sense that you stop when cars are crossing and you will not cross the street until the sign says go, right? But if you go to other countries, right, South Asia, for example, India, Bangladesh, my country, etc., people just don't view that the same. Crossing the street, they will cross the street whether traffic is there or not, and whether traffic is going or not. I see it, and which is why that doesn't comply as common sense, because it's not putting into consideration the different cultural differences of people and globally, and how they even view similar situations like crossing the street, a busy road, or whatever, or traffic, right? Here in Dallas, for example, now of course not everyone follows the law, and that's another story. But if you're on a 2-lane highway, right, and you're especially between Dallas and Austin or Dallas and Houston, it's state law and typically common knowledge that you pass, that the left lane is the fast lane and right lane is, well, technically the slow lane, but really you're going the speed limit. But left lane is designed for passing, so if you want to pass someone on the right lane, you go around them on the left lane, right? That doesn't mean you hog up the left lane and stay there, right? People still do that. And it's even the signs on the side of the highway will say left lane is for passing only. It says that. They obviously have speed limits, and we all know everyone's not going to follow that. Okay, that's fine. But if left lane is for passing and right lane is the slower lane, and you've already passed people on the right lane, then technically speaking, you have no reason to be in the left lane, right? You would go back on the right if it's open. People don't do that all the time, so they will continue in the left lane. So, and you can have both lanes occupied, and you can go past either one. You're stuck. You have to stay the same speed as they are going. So so I can just give that as a Texas example, driving on the roads. And so yeah, cultural differences are not being considered, but I'm trying to think of more examples right now, but I just don't see how common sense is a real thing. Is a real thing if we keep saying that if we keep having to mention that the lack of it is actually more common than the prevalence of it, right? So if we keep saying it's not common, then why is it even called common sense? It keeps being repeated that it's not common, or let's bring common sense back. That means it was never there, or it's been gone or something. So I don't understand why even we say common sense. I really don't believe it's a concept. If you mean logical, that's a rational thinking. 1 + 1 = 2, right? You can either turn left or turn right. Whatever. If it's hot, maybe don't. If it's hot right out of the kitchen, right out of the oven, don't bite right into it right away. Yeah, that's logic, and people consider that common sense. But you're just not the thing is, logic is a spectrum. Yeah, not everyone's gonna have like 1,000 IQ, man. Not everyone's gonna have. Obviously, it's impossible. You can't have an Einstein level IQ, everyone. It's a bell curve, right? So we're all on a bell curve, and there's an average intelligence, right? And then there's below average, and then there's above average, correct? That's where logic plays into play. And I think that's what we really mean by common sense. And so when you don't really care about that concept, then you can say, yeah, there's a million genders. I can identify as Batman or as a penguin, which is another Batman character, or a dog or a tiger. You have to call me that. But obviously, I'm a human male, obviously, right? So, yeah, it's just crazy to see that a U.S. Official, especially the President of the United States, literally has to declare that the government recognizes two genders, which has always been true for the entire history of humanity until just recently. So that's crazy. That's why I'm just like, yeah, this common sense thing, I'm just not buying it. It's just like there's average level intelligence, and there's just more average level intelligence than above average level intelligence. That's really what it is. And so that's why we can't see this common sense in action all the time. And so what else, right? Obviously we talked about the multiple genders thing, but like, if you're a man and you feel like you're born in the wrong gender, you can put on a dress and be a woman, blah blah blah. That's like some crazy brainwashing of some insane level that I can't fathom. And yeah, so there's no common sense here. And people believing that being unhealthy and way overweight and literally obese and high blood pressure is okay, it's acceptable. I mean, not to bash like that if you're trying to make effort there, but I don't understand why it's being celebrated, why it's being promoted. It's the dumbest thing ever, and a lot of people actually suffered their health because they think letting themselves go is like the new cool thing to do. So it's not. And so yeah, so the older I get, the more I rely on my rationality and logic, okay? Because rationality is going to mean something your entire lifespan, okay? Your feelings won't always be right or be valid or even be trustworthy, but rationality, I mean, 1 + 1 = 2 before you're born, and it's going to be true 1 + 1 = 2 after we're gone too, okay? And red, blue, yellow are the primary colors, and they combinations of them create like all the other colors, etc., right? That's actual factual based logic, right? And rationality. So the older I get, I just side with things that are more rational based than it is emotion based. And I think that's where our society is at its kind of clash, I guess, or at its whatever. railroad, etc. But yeah, so rationality is not going to fail you. It shouldn't fail you because you're making a rational choice based on real life data, real life evidence, real life information, and then you, with your rational mind, can potentially weigh potential outcomes and weigh different choices and compare and contrast and make a rational decision. Yes, does emotion come into play? Like, I like a red car better, or I like a blue car better, or I like a fast car better or something. Yes, emotions obviously play a factor into it, right? But it just can't trump your rationality, because you have to actually rationally think things, because it doesn't matter how you feel today. It's what if you feel bad tomorrow and you make a bad decision because of how you're feeling yesterday, and then tomorrow you're like, oh, why did I do that, So I'm not saying not to have emotions and not to feel emotions, but relying solely on your emotions is just not the best way to go through life. You have to have rationality, and I can see why that's why common sense is really not a thing anymore, or it's not considered common clearly. So that's why I just don't like this term, and to me, I don't think it exists. It's not real. But anyway, yeah, I wanted to get this out, and just wanted to share some thoughts tonight, okay? Right after my lovely birthday, and excited. Hopefully we're going to have a fun, safe weekend this weekend with some friends. Looking forward to that. Going to celebrate Big 36 in style, hopefully. So, yeah, I hope you like this podcast. If you do, please give a thumbs up, like, and share, and subscribe. Please hit the subscribe button for more episodes. But yeah, I think let's call it a night for now. If you enjoyed, like I said, please like, share, and subscribe, and stay tuned for more episodes. And with that, I'm signing off. This is Mosh, and just remember, it's all about just some perspective.